I'm waiting for my audience to sit down. There they go. There they go. They cheering. They cheering. So I am going to. I didn't open the chat, so I'm up the chat. Now, Brother Kwame, say greetings, Baba. One love.
Greetings, Kwame.
So I'm gonna have to leave. Go ahead.
I'm glad to be on here with you. You two motivate me, and I appreciate that.
Oh, that's powerful, man. Hey, I mean that means we doing our job. You know what I'm saying? Because we have that responsibility. But the Baba here to talk. Put him on the show. Right now we're having something screen going. Pop out. I'm here. Let me double check. Oh, I know what it is. I know I handled it. Cool, I got it. So now, we're gonna talk about things. You got one book right now, a journey called "Elapsed Conditions for Centered Organizations," and you also there's something called "The Genius of Africans United," a call to action. But you had a very interesting title that you want to talk about today, and people calling, where can I get the book? Where can I get the book? And the book was "So You Want Liberation."
That's right. Yeah.
Cool. So, what was on your mind when you wrote that title?
Well, first, let me just a question about where they can get it. We've been, I guess you'd say, some things have been stolen, and so what I want them to do is to get it either from you or Zawadi Books or Madu Bookstore. Those are the only three authorized. We got some gangsterism going on where somebody sent it out to various distributors, and I had nothing to do with that. And in some cases, they even sent out incomplete copies. So and they have big charges on some of the books, and some of them are in connection with other books. So I've been gangsterized, I guess I want to say, to everybody. So I'm asking you to seek from Zawadi Books or in Columbus and Madu Bookstore, and those are the only two authorized persons to distribute these books at this. So that's what I want to start with, that because we have to protect ourselves.
Yes, we do.
Because things are not going the way we would like them right now, and the reason is that we have not planned everything correctly, and really that was what when I began to write this series of books. As most people, I really started with writing something when I started this Being Healthy and Wealthy, and the reason I started that book was that I began to be aware of that we had not set up general activities as a part of our. I'm talking not schooling. I'm not talking about school. I'm talking about our schooling. All the rites of passage and aerobic and all those things. We said that it would be a regular Saturday or after school that I think we need for character building, and at all age levels. Now I'm not pointing at the young people because I think that we are not doing our job on my end. That's the old folks end, if people want to know what I'm talking about. And so we can't expect the change if we're not doing our end. So that's how I got started. And then I realized that we were saying the right words a lot of times. We were talking about Guru Saba and principle, and I said, if we really want to do this, we have to understand what those mean, and I want to put down some ideas about what they mean. And you have never, I don't think you or anyone else has seen that I really put together a design that where I was reflecting all of the areas of life, and for that I don't know, you can't see this right now, but let's just say on one axis I have truth, righteousness, justice, reciprocity, order, balance, and harmony. On the other axis, I have the 9 areas of life. And I said, we need to have training at each point of intersection where truth and economics applies. There's a square there that we ought to be having drills at all levels on those. And because if we are serious about wanting liberation, we have to do it. We can't ask anybody else to do it for us. And so that's how I got started. Now, the book that you referred to in terms of the genius of African United, one of the things I became clear about is that we were not, we all have our geniuses, but we have not applied it in ways that we might apply it, where we put it together so it becomes a power among ourselves and among others, and they have to give respect for that. Right now, you might identify an individual who you think, the system might identify an individual who it thinks is worthy, but for typical African children, African warriors, African nation builders, or African elders for that matter, only the ones they pick are the ones that they indicate that are geniuses, except in the athletic and maybe the music world, where they have to admit that they are behind, rather than and can't be equal because there's something going on among us that they don't understand. So that's how that series has gone. And when for the 11 steps, which I have to say you got excited about it before I wanted to release that. So I'm going to later on it'll be released with a more comprehensive volume of that. I'm working on it now. I hope that I can really have it available to you by August or something like that. But I think that we have work to do. We have work to do in our families and in our communities, even to the point of knowing how to protect ourselves. And Saturday, when you asked me to kind of open up, I tried to say to you that, look, our intent is to be peaceful, but peace sometimes requires war, and so it's important that we acknowledge that all the areas of life have to be represented whenever we do serious planning. So that's kind of how I got started with this series of books. In the interim, most of you know that I grew up in Atlanta, and I grew up in a section of town called Pittsburgh that people used to say when you cross the railroad track that you had to come in right, or else anything might happen to you. So I wrote about those. I produced 3 books about Pittsburgh that dealt with individuals who were in Pittsburgh. Some of the churches, which was far too many. I think they said that there were 50 some churches in about a 9 square block area, 0.9 mile area, 0.9 square area, mile square area, and I did some with families. So that's been my work for the last 10 years, working out there in that community and producing what I'm going to call a series of book/pamphlets. That kind of I hope that kind of gives you a sense of how these things got started.
Yes, sir. One of the things I want to ask is, as a nation builder, what are some of the things that we can be doing? Because you said we have to get ready. How do you envision getting started in this process as far as getting things jumping off? Because we see what's happening out in the world right now. So the question is, how do we start the preparations for this lifestyle? Because what you're talking about is not just changing and just learning the words. You're talking about building a lifestyle So where should we start?
Yes, I am. I'm talking about building a lifestyle, building a community. I'm asking us to recognize that this individualism has to go out the window. That's really what I'm asking. And when we begin to memorize the various virtues or whatever, that we have to apply them to actively in our lives. So that's why I developed this chart, and I'll send it to you soon, uh, because it's in rough draft form. I never did the transfer it to even typing. It's in written form, because in all those things they interact with each other, and we don't take time to say, uh, that what does truth mean in terms of economics, and we have to find answers that suit us, not somebody else, and not even. And once we do that, then it's important for us to use it for ourselves without asking permission. Today, I guess I'm a little excited today because listened to a preacher who supposedly is in a very, I guess, high class denomination, and pleading with white preachers to have sympathy for him because he's had all of these racial difficulties, and because with the recent deaths by policemen, it brought it to his attention, and now he feels like he should do something. Before he was just keeping quiet, and I thought that was an insult to us as a people for him to do that.
Explain why it was an insult, because maybe somebody don't understand. Hold on, before you do that, I need you to scoot to your right a little bit because half of you is hanging out the picture. There you go. I want to say, man, I hope I look that good when I'm 95, man. You looking good, man. But hey, so now, why was that an insult?
Well, an insult. Here's a guy with a PhD, says that he'd been in ministry of, I think he said 40 years, and that he's a bishop, and here he was pleading with them to telling them why he had not told them about the Acts in the New Testament, that the people in the Acts were there were a lot of black people that were in the Acts, and that he overlooked that, and he was more or less supposedly calling them on the carpet, but they ask him a question, he starts explaining and continued to the point of crying, which was absolutely, I just, man, what in the world?
So, I mean, but so I guess part of the training would entail us making sure that we provide a method or a mechanism to kind of help us act authentically, because as black people, we can't, in the world that we exist in, it's hard for us to be authentic. And so how do we, you know what I'm saying, how do we move it from just being able to wear the clothes and do the ceremonies on certain days? How do we move that into everyday life? I think that's what, because that's
really what I'm doing. That's what I'm trying to write about from time to time, and I don't know if I'm doing a good job or not. But my whole intent is to say that we have work to do in each of these squares. If you take that, even just a little bit that I put on this paper here, that's nine squares going one way, 7 going another. So that's 63 squares, 9 to 7. Yeah, 63 squares of learning that we must learn about in detail, because in order to plan effectively and be able to stand up straight, we have to be able to defend, not just defend, but live this in such a way that it represents a powerful position, and anybody who faces it has to know that they are facing power. It is difficult for us to come to this position. It's like we've been accustomed to asking for a grant,
right?
Asking, please give me. I'm a citizen, therefore I have earned. Yes, you have, but the enemy doesn't intend to give it to you. So do it for it. I say, let's begin to train ourselves and our various subsequent generations to stand firmly on what it is that's good for them, for us, regardless of what somebody else says about it. Uh, Now I'm not talking about being belligerent, and I'm not talking about being. You use the word authentic. I think that would come closer to what I'm talking about, being authentic, but also being strong with it and not apologizing for being authentic. We, I hear so many of us in all state and all levels of life, uh, really. I've been in the scholarly world, and I hear scholars just pontificating. And then when the rubber hits the road, they back up and say, "Well, I did this so that I could be a part of them and make sure that it got done, or and try to educate them." We don't have the obligation to educate them. Uh, you asked me one time when I said, "Beware of the moment of excitement when people join you for the moment of excitement, and don't be surprised when they disappear." But more or less tell them to get their own backyards cleaned up, and that would be most helpful to you. Not
Mm.
not asking them to help you to do things. Now, that is not a popular position. I know because I hear it every time I see it someplace. Uh, People smile or something like that, but I know they're saying, "Well, I wish he'd shut up." But but I can't help but say that because I've seen warmed over milk over and over again, warmed over sour milk over and over from just about every 10 years,
Right.
and 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 promises that are made and progress that is reported that isn't really there, and so it's time that we acknowledge that and say that we acknowledge that we are just almost in the same, and you're going to see this written, we're almost in the same predicament as we were when we had chains and we're in the cotton fields. It's just manifested in itself in a new pseudo design, and many of our children are. I looked at this black girl. What was that thing called?
True.
Black girls too. I don't know how many of the listening audience has seen it, but it was about being dark,
Right.
dark skinned, and so forth. And I said, well, we've allowed the interpretation to come in among us. That was never started among us until such time we began to allow the miseducation to come into us. And so now we have to now uh, devolve and evolve. I guess I'd say devolve from the miseducation that we've received, and all of us. It's not one of us better than the other one. We all are been trapped in the
Right.
same
Right.
cage.
We all trapped, and
Yeah.
because one of the major pieces that we run into is like, where do we start? See, because it's like you got 9 areas of life. What area can we start in, or do we have to do it all at the same time? I mean, because many of us are in a position where, in a sense, we got the beg for our bread. We have to figure out ways to make West Asians feel comfortable around us. Or all groups. We're not allowed to be authentic, or at least that
We
was the
think
motto.
not.
Okay, cool. Now go and break it down for me. We think we're
We
not.
think we're not. And the one reason is, we use almost all their methods. You all call me doc sometimes. Yeah, I earned a PhD. There are many people who don't even know I know a search, and I don't care if they know, as long as they know that I'm talking about uh, rehabbing ourselves rather than having somebody rehab um, somebody else rehabbing us. I think that we have to accept the fact that we've been burned, and we need to heal ourselves though, because every time we think that somebody says, "Oh yeah, well, we'll give you a little inch here," well, yes, they'll give you an inch and burn up a mile.
Yeah. I remember you told me a long time ago, you said they will only give you enough money to fail. I never forgot that. You know what I'm saying? That's why when people be like, yo, we need to make a Gye-Nyame a nonprofit. I said, no, we're not running. We're not moving on the nonprofit piece. We're not seeking grants. There's money. We have money, a small amount of money in our pocket, and there's money for that we have not tapped into. So what we need to do is, is a certain way that we need to start approaching things. And that's what I'm trying to glean from, because you started an organization that allowed me, in a sense, to be able to be in a job. Me starting with you allowed me to be able to live an authentic life. You understand what I'm saying? I never had to, until recently, I never had to wear a tie. And I chose to wear the tie. I'm quite sure I could have got out of wearing that, but it was the model for what we needed at the school at the time. But because of me starting with you, I was able to be authentic. How can I'm moving towards an elder age? What stuff can I start laying down right now so that I could provide the space for young people to not only be authentic, but be able to benefit from being in their authentic selves? Because we have a whole bunch of elders and we have a whole bunch of olders. You know what I'm saying? That and nation builders that might just be nation sitters. I don't know. It's like, what are some of the things that we can do to start getting stuff so that when an individual is able to be themselves and be authentic, they could do that without sacrificing meals for their children or developing bad relationships because of that. Because that one piece you brought up first, you said, what is truth in economics? You know what I'm saying? Looking at that, we got to look at that whole economic piece. How do we what are some of the ideas that you have about moving it so that we can have some economic power to stand up on our own too?
Well, I think that you are doing the design that you put together, Gye-Nyame. Am I saying that correctly?
You say it how you want to, Elder. We know who you.
I think the way the model that you put together is a good start, and let's just start with the garden. You well know that the African Centers had a food co-op,
right?
And everybody supported it who came. And we didn't ask for money from anybody, but we got enough money off of that to rent a building from a black man, and to pay the expenses of the building, and to give people more than they would have gotten any other place of fresh fruits and vegetables, and people were happy. In that building, we had Saturday school, and we had women's day school. I mean, women activity for women, activities for brothers, and physical fitness for brothers and sisters, and we need to take charge now. People would ask, where does the money come from? It came from us. It came from us, and I think that I'm not putting that as the ideal model, because we wouldn't have. It would still be there if we had done everything right, but we learned from
right.
Maybe I should say I learned something from the fact that what happened to cause its demise. So, but I'm saying to us that was at least a beginning, and I think that it's time that we take the mantle of that and begin to design and plan. You asked me, where do we start? Well, we have to look at all these places as we plan. See, I don't know, in these 63 squares that I'm describing on this chart, my wife is coaching me to get back in the middle of things. But in these 63 squares, like, for example, you got truth and religion is one of those squares.
Uh-oh.
Well, we got truth in education, we got
Right.
truth in politics, and I'm not talking about talking to somebody else about that. I'm saying we need a critical mass. That critical mass might be 50. I don't know, if, but we ought to shoot for whatever we think is that critical mass to start the study and the planning and the development of these 63 squares, because there are other types of squares that fit as we look at the whole scheme of things that we must address. You can't address them one and not the other one, because they all are a part of the harmony of the universe of us. And for example, the misreading of what's that thing they have at the church there? The, no, shucks. Anyway, looking back to go forward, Sankofa is what I'm trying to say. The misreading sometimes of Sankofa is the bird is looking back. Well, the bird is not looking back. His neck is turned, but remember, the birds can see, their sight is approximately 360 degrees. And so when he's looking back, he can see what's in front too. But he's only looking back to use what's good out of the past to enhance what he sees in the future. And so it's that kind of model that we have to begin to claim and use for each of these squares, because I don't know the answer. I'm not claiming to know the answer, but I'm saying to us, to you as nation builder, and to warriors who might be listening, that I'm certainly willing to help, but my energy level is not what it used to be, and so therefore I can't be operational, but I can certainly put these designs together and be helpful in that way, and say to you, work it out, but don't lose the direction that you're working for yourself and the people. You're not working for individualism. That's where if I had to look back on any of those activities that I've have been responsible for, one of the major causes for demise was their individualism creeped in.
Now, because that kind of fits, because a lot of that stuff started bleeding in after the Nixon administration. You know what I'm saying, with the whole black capitalism thing that they was pushing. And then my whole job, I speaking for myself, I noticed for me that the whole major push was about escaping something. Like you need to get up out the hood. You know what I'm saying? You too good to, you know what I'm saying, or you too smart. And we kind of brought up a whole generation under the idea of getting out, escaping. You can see it in the movies. You can hear it in the conversations, even when we start moving into the 90s. And the question that I always been faced with is, what in the hell I was being taught to run from? And the conclusion, go ahead.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. When I often use the community in which I grew up, which really was a community of self-sufficiency. Nobody made a big dollar in that community. I don't think. But if somebody ran out of bread, Miss Jones said, I'd make a run over from my house to Mrs. Carson's house and say, Mother said, would you send us this, that, and other, salt, or whatever the case might be? Now, everybody had that attitude toward each other, recognizing that you may or may not get it back, but you know that when you got in trouble, somebody was going to also rescue you. And we don't. And that's in some ways that's an economic system. You know?
That is economic system. Reciprocity. Okay. Reciprocity plays a major point in economics that I don't think a lot of people talk about. Now let me ask you this. You ready?
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
In the 75 years of you organizing, what was one of the biggest mistakes that either you did or that you noticed that you want to warn us about in the efforts there? Because right now you got educators listening, you got other nation builders listening. what was one of the major mistakes either you made or that you noticed that kind of broke down some of the stuff that was necessary, that would really come in useful for us today?
Well, I can tell you, let me start it this way and say that I was very fortunate in that people had a lot of respect for me, and I really appreciated that. I would say that to the Columbus community anytime, that people had a lot of respect for me. And I let some things happen myself. I'm going to claim this for me. One of the things that I'm going to go to the African Center, because I consider the African Center as being one of the biggest contributions that got started in the in Columbus for African people. As you know, there were 12 people on the Council of 12,
Right.
and no decision was made without the 12 people coming to agreement. That's one. As things multiplied, we had about sometimes 600 families that we serviced, and as that grew, then some members on the Council of 12 and others in the center said, "Why don't we make some money off these baskets and these programs and so forth?" And I said, "No, that's not the intent. The intent is to be of service and to make enough for the organization to grow, but at the same time, not jeopardize, not make it be the object of our enhancing our pockets." And that kept going for a while, and finally I conceded that let's just make it be half and half for the organization. And so what happened is greed began to, and I'm getting to what I think is the cause. Greed came in where people would begin to talk about, he stole my basket, or he stole my this, and the result was that confusion that had never been there before. I mean, never. It had never been there before, began to occur, and so our goal, which was to acquire a corner for ourselves, never could be realized after that began to happen. Now that's a very concrete. May sound like a little thing,
No,
but that's a very concrete incident that I'm describing for you that happened right there in Columbus, not too far from where APDS is now. So that's an example. And I say that we have to decide the standards. You see, that what that says is that it's important for us to decide on our own standards and not be deceived by somebody else's, that it will improve our condition if we get involved in somebody else's standards. We have standards. We had standards that were before white folk woke up. We had standards, and there was peace among us. But at this time, we have so much acceptance and so much confusion that we can't even manifest strength. And that's what I'm calling for. Let's return to the point where we are. When I raised with you all about agree to disagree, they say, "How you do that?" Well, you just make up your mind you want to do it.
I mean, you make up your mind that you agree to disagree. So I agree with you. You can't agree to agree. You know what I'm saying? Right. Now, how do you combat? All right, cool. Now I'm pulling on wisdom. Now, how do you combat greed in a world that is driven by greed? Some of us grew up on movies where they said greed is good, right? How do you combat? I mean, what are some of the methods that we could pull from our culture to combat some of these things? Because you got those 63 things, which should be a study. Well, I mean, because I hear you, because that's like the foundation of a learning institution right there that everybody need to go through. Get to your work. How do you combat? How? Well, let me say it like this. How can low on money, brother Hatim, battle greed, Baba. I need, because we dealt with this at APDS too, because you used to say, hey man, the patient man eats ripe fruit.
That's right.
You said you told me, you said, brother, if you want a nice car, you need to pay yourself a car payment. I'm like, where am I gonna get the money for the car payment, Doc? I need a raise. You know what I'm saying? But the point was the wisdom was there, and it took me a while to hear it. But what things can we put in place to start catching some of our people at a young age, to instill in them to combat this monster called greed?
Well,
Real life here,
I'm not
Gye-Nyame
sure.
Journey.
I'm not sure that I have the ABCs of that, but I do know that we need to have internal education and internal spiritual development for ourselves, so that some of the principles that we recite, you hear me?
Yes,
recite.
Sir. Yes, sir. Because that's what's going on. We got a lot of recitation going on.
Some of the principles that we recite become a reality, because those are the principles that I thought it was really interesting that Trump ran out and raised the Bible up. That symbol was very important, because he said, look, this book tells you better get back in your place. And he was absolutely correct. That's where we use it. Not for the purpose of, now I know that there are a whole lot, I might have turned off a whole lot of people right now.
Well, I mean, not on my show, but go ahead. I mean, this is a different platform. This is our platform. As we say in Gye-Nyame KN, this is our thing. So you ain't gonna really piss nobody off here. Go ahead.
But we have to, and when we do the self-examination, see, everybody seems to be afraid of self-examination, and they seem to think that self-examination is an individual matter. It is an individual matter, but I'm a part of you. We say reciprocity and we say collectivism and all those things, but we have to go beyond just saying them and begin to use them, because they have power in them. And they have power in this system where this system can't stand against it. But we have to convince ourselves that that's true. I was thinking about the other day. I have a granddaughter that's 4, and soon to have another one, and the near teenagers now. I've done this for all their life. I put just a few dollars aside for them so they don't have to worry about something when they get to school, to college. I mean, but and I think that somehow, so to take the greed and the challenge out with our children, that even if it's only a dime, we need to build a foundational resources, so the fiscal stuff doesn't draw them away. That's what you're asking me. We need to begin to do that, and then we need to tell them, help them understand, help ourselves first understand that the human capital can never be changed. It is here, and we can use it. While that money that was put aside may change in value, the human capital was, if anything, it grows in value. Rather, if we can rectify these squares, it will grow in value and grow in power.
All right, so Baba just announced, he don't know that he just did, but he announced that he's going to have an e-course on the 63 squares. We're going to start us a little conversation and an e-course on the 63 squares. And we're going to sit down and we're going to discuss the 63 squares so that we can start trying to get some type of understanding from it. Because I'm envisioning with these 63 squares, we can have people actually do dissertation on groups of squares or individual squares, because that's how you build a system behind things. This is how you build, this is how organisms grow. This is how organizations grow. A basic philosophy. Now, far as the principles, let me ask you this, Doc, because this is something I've been struggling with. How does, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. How does Mayat deal with West Asians? If I'm practicing Mayat, truth, justice, righteousness, reciprocity, balance, order, and harmony. How am I supposed to deal like that with West Asians? Or is that something that is in group internal type thing?
Now you're talking about now. How you talking about how you personally didn't deal with them, or whether a group of Africans who have come together deal with them?
I'm talking about. Go ahead now. Let's talk about as a group of Africans that come together deal with them. Because do you want me to describe why I'm asking this question, or you got it?
Well, well, go ahead. Yes.
Because I see a lot of people get caught up in the verbiage and put themselves at jeopardy by leaning on Mayat and dealing with people who have never dealt with the concept. So they're taking an African way of seeing the world and imposing it on others, which I think is very dangerous and puts you in a bad position. It actually put us on slave ships, I believe. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. My mother used to have this expression, and it's a common expression, so you all will know it when you hear it. She said, "Charity begins at home, boy." Now, you think about that. How you've heard that from older folks over the years, and sometimes you hear me say we have turned our backs on our ancestors because those are the gems that they gave us to live by. We say that everybody's got to include it, and including all those letters. LGBTQ, B, C, L, whatever they are, and I think that is very important. That doesn't take any respect away from the other groups, but you say that I'm empower myself so I can stand toe to toe with anybody,
right?
And you don't have to grant me liberation. I declare it.
And liberation, but liberation can't be granted anyway, Baba.
Well, that's true, but the misconception is that I have to get permission.
And
and therefore you see all the asking and trying to please and so forth, rather than being. If you say truth, that reciprocity, then the group that you're dealing with, if they want to have balance, then they got to have reciprocity with the group, not you individually pull you off from your own group. That doesn't make much sense to me. And so you can't use if you use the principles, make sure you understand what they're saying. Reciprocity is a give and receive. If you don't receive adequately, the scales are unbalanced. And so you need so that principle is already violated when you give and you don't receive.
All right, so let's do this. We're gonna take about a 3-minute break because I'm gonna play a commercial. We're gonna come back. We're gonna have a little bit more discussion. Then we're gonna open up the lines if you got time. I need to go.
I'm all right.
Cool. So what we gonna do?
All right, I'm ready to talk with a little bit tonight.
Yes, sir.
You got me in a good mood.
Cool. Listen, because this is Ketty, this is our thing, so we can do it as long as we want. But I want to make sure that because once again, doing that economic piece, we got some other stuff we need to advertise. So give me a couple of seconds, and if you got to use the bathroom, because I'm fasting, I got to use the bathroom. And that's the honest truth. I'm fasting, and so it's killing me right now.
All right.
So I had to come up with an excuse, but I want to be honest. I want to stand on truth. But I want to put the commercial on, and we'll be right back.
All right. I'll do likewise.
Ayimbobe is an acronym. Mind, Body, and Universal Balance Empowerment Institute. It is also Zulu. It means lion, of course. With that, we're working with resiliency. We're working with trauma-informed care. with all of the mind-body connections that we need to not only address so many of our ills, but also to heal from them. There's no one giant step that does it. It's a lot of little steps. Author unknown. How do you regulate? Yoga, meditation, and Bube. Mind, body, universal balance, empowerment. We're waiting for you. How do you regulate?
Maybe the man did the spray. They came in here.
Good.
This is the people that are wrong.
Huh?
Those names in the video.
Well,
They're on the call.
All right, to those on Spreaker and those listening in right now, it's a silent commercial. I'm working on getting all those up out of the rotation, but first I want to replace them because one of them is Sister Roni's. But this is the Gye-Nyame G&J Media commercial.
To have melanin embedded in our skin.
Well, I can't hear any of that. This is Phil Payne.
Oh my gosh, when I say too black, you say too strong. Too black, too strong. Yeah. We were born to be great. Oh my gosh, when I say too black, you say too strong. Too black. We were born to be great.
All right. We are back up. And tonight I am joined by Elder Mariba Kelsey. Family. Give him a round of applause. He's coming out. He's ready. And I hope that y'all ready. Because we're going to talk for a couple more seconds. Depending. You already know how it is. Go here. Then I'm going to open up the lines. The lines are going to be open. You're going to be able to call in at 614-556-4535. Once again, that number is 614-556-4535. And we're going to have this conversation. All right? So, and if somebody could, Elder Phil was just on the line. I don't think he could get us on the app because I don't think he got the app or even got those things on his phone. So if somebody could call Elder Phil, let him know he could call back in because matter of fact, I'm going to open up the lines because I know there's some elders out there that might want to get at him. So let's just go open up the lines. Doc, this is what we're going to do. You got your house phone by you?
Yes,
If you got your house phone by you, call in.
Yeah.
Call into the number because
Bring
what
me the phone.
I'm gonna do is we're gonna keep this one on, and I'm gonna work my magic, and I am going to silence the mic on here. Once you pick up. Oh, my fault.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Give me the number again.
The number is 614.
Okay.
556 4535. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're going to. I got it. No, I got that, but I got it. So what we're gonna do, very simply, is let me see. I'm still hearing echo. All right.
Oh, that's wait. I got to turn this off, I guess.
All right, cool. You gonna turn it off? Cool. So he gonna turn that off, and I'm gonna go to the receipt screen. Family showing mad love. The Baba is up on the line, and we're gonna open it up so that. Hello, check one. There we go. Nope.
Okay.
I'm still getting an echo. I got to figure out why I got an echo. Check. Well, it might be because you're on a house phone.
Yeah.
Go ahead, say something.
Okay. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I'm hearing you 2 or 3 times. But hold on. No, that ain't you. It's me. Oh, because you trying to take the picture off.
No, I wasn't. I was just putting it on mute.
Okay, that ain't work. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Let's see how I can work this. Hold on. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. I'm still echoing. So, check. The echo gone. Well, it was. All right, so family, y'all call in at 614-556-4535. So actually, Doc, what you can do is you can hang up the cell phone because we're gonna move over to the line that you on right now.
Okay. All right. Hold it. A minute.
All right, family, say goodbye to the Baba. There we go. Check 1, check 2. It didn't cut off.
Turn it off. No, you said to keep the cell phone on, right?
No, you can turn the cell phone off and you can talk on the home phone.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Because I throw up pictures of the village.
All right. Okay.
Cool. All right. So, family, right now we got the Baba, and I'm going to deal with the little bit of echo. I think it's because it's the house phone. This thing don't work well with house phones for some reason. So, we are right now sitting with Baba Kelsey. Let me go and post up how y'all call in. Let me put up the so we'll continue our conversation. Let me go and post this up real quick.
Is that cleared up?
Oh man.
You said turn it off?
Yes. You can turn it off.
Okay.
BL.
All right.
Cool. You sound good, Doc. That's the house phone? Yeah, that sound. Yeah. Oh man, that sound real good. All right, so family, right now we're sitting with Dr. Kelsey, Some of y'all was calling in. If there's any callers, the number is, let me make sure that it popped up. All right, cool. We got it popped up there. Let me go and put it over here on Spreaker. The number is 614-556-4535. If anybody got Elder Phil's number, let him know he can call back in now because we're off, because I wanted people to see the Baba. So if y'all see him, y'all go and do that salute. You know what I'm saying? But now, so we're talking about, so you want liberations. So let's bring it up to today. Baba, give us your analysis of what's going on out here in these streets right now.
Well, I think the young people are having a righteous rebellion that we need. That's a natural response for them, but that's what they know best, and that's what should occur, and we should support them in that. At the same time, we should. I think that it's important for us to also begin to corral some of those energies and together help them have better understanding about the principles that the Tawi and other groups like Tawi say that they stand on. So it's that's my thought about.
I got quiet because I was listening to the sound to make sure that they could hear you clearly. So I will reach out to Baba Phil. Brother Kwame is going to reach out to Brother Phil, let him know that he can call in. Anybody else out there that want to come call in, by all means, pick up the phone, 614-556-4535. So, well,
let me just add one other thing that I think is important, and that is that I think it's important that we recognize that the spur of the moment with the excitement is a media event, and the media makes it almost sound like it's a victory. But the victory is yet to be seen.
What are now other than setting up methods of being able to reach out to the young people and start presenting them with principles? What other steps do you think that we should be taking as a people during this time?
Well, I think we ought to be declaring. You were saying earlier that we can give ourselves liberation. Certainly, we can give ourselves liberation to begin to practice what we preach, and that is to say that if I say that I'm going to follow my art and be truthful about it, then I would and not be afraid of self-examination with that. Now, I emphasize self-examination because and the self that I'm talking about now is my own evaluation with those who I see as my family's evaluation. And that's hard because we've been used to kind of cracking on each other and not giving good feedback about growth feedback. In terms of it's not that kind of evaluation I'm talking about is not a criticism evaluation. It's an evaluation that says the avenue that you're taking is the wrong avenue, and I can help you get back on the right one. Or if you think I'm on the wrong one, let me know so we can get together. And but the ultimate goal of that is to get together. It is not to take my apples and go home.
Not to take my apples and go home. Now, let me go on and ask let me ask this then. So with not taking your apples and going home, can you kind of explain the concept of the African self a little bit more? Let's explore that just a little bit deeper, because you said, you're saying like the self is not this lone monad that's floating through the universe. You're saying that it's a composition of many different things.
That's right. That's right. I mean, I don't know that I know how to use all of this, but what I know is that when I ask for the wisdom of the rain, the sun, and the moon, that I'm really asking for wisdom that would help me know my place in all that constellation. When I should be peaceful, when I should not. But even in my unpeaceful times, it says that I will not be disturbing the whole of the universe, except to accomplish some positive aspect in that universe. That's the only way I'll disturb toward making sure that the flowers bloom, so to speak, rather than just disturbing because I think somebody bumped into me. Something in the universe bumped into me. And to recognize that those elements. See, when we say the sun, the moon, and the universal principles, they're inside of me just like they're outside of me. That's way we originally saw them, and some of that got to be that to pray for something to happen that while I sit by the sidelines and let it happen. My work is to do what I need to do for myself, and I think that it's really important that we change that concept, because that was the African way to praise, give honor to the sun and the moon to help us do the things that we need to do. Put all the villages without being stratified in terms of economics, education, and all those things, but they're stratified only as the villages, and everybody has a role in that. So, I mean, I can't emphasize that enough, and I may be repeating myself, but I can't emphasize that enough because there's so generational separations, there are denominational separations, there are economic separations. I got more money than you, and I got more education than you, and all those type of artificial things that really, if you throw them all in the universe, they wouldn't even count.
You mean like the cars and the rims and some of this paper?
I mean, I understand there are symbols of we transfer, in some times I think I understand that we transfer those things into our being self-esteem for us, rather than us having self-esteem for ourselves, regardless of whether we have that.
So I mean, because it's so many things that attack us. I mean, because you brought up self-esteem, the economics. I mean, it's so many things, and we have been taught to be almost totally external, and to be totally leaning on me. How?
Now you getting that straight, brother.
You say who?
I said you getting that straight now.
Yeah, we trying to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a constant effort because, like I said, for years, I was drilled and challenged on the fact that it was all about it was about me. It's sort of like we got a extended adolescence lesson. You know what I'm saying? Where everything rotates around me, and that's the way it's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? But in order for us to move forward, we have to change that and change the conversations that we have, because what I liked about what you're saying is like, boom, is the one is important. One of my older brothers, and also he's a elder, a Native American chief. His name is Chief Albino, and I constantly repeat this on air. One day we was riding to the Sundance, And he said, brother, you are no higher than a blade of grass and no lower than its roots. To the Creator, we all are no higher than a blade of grass or lower than its roots. And it's like, that was that hit on so many of the lessons that I had been getting through the community at large. You know what I'm saying? But then a lot of times when you try to practice that, and maybe you can help me with this. A lot of times when I try to practice that, I get burnt. How do we deal with the burning? You know what I'm saying? You put everything first. You put everything in front of you, and it seems like sometimes the very people that you're trying to help turn around and bite you. How do you combat that? How do you deal with that?
Well, recognize that we all have been, we all have become victims of the same understandings about life, and the strike back may hurt, but it may be the only way that reciprocity can occur at that given moment. And now I'm not saying allow yourself to be a victim, but somehow you have to learn how to accept that that's where that person is at that given time, and we can't do much about it other than continue to send positive vibes to that person. And that makes a lot of difference. I mean, there are things I know that I had an opportunity to work in prison life, just volunteering going into prisons. And I never asked any of those guys what they had done. And I think they appreciated that because I never asked them about what they had done. And some of them came out and they came around. They were very supportive and worked outside of prison. And I think that we need to recognize that sometimes they're doing the best they can, and sometimes you're right that they have taken on the attitudes and behaviors of our enemies, and will do the same thing. But we also have to recognize that we too do that, and that's why I keep calling for self-examination and saying to you that I have to do that for myself almost every day, and I know that that I'm better off for having done that, and sometimes it requires me to go back and undo some things that I've done. So I don't know how to answer.
Maybe you did. Maybe you did. Let me ask this: can you give the family an example of a practice of self-examination?
Yes, yes, I can. And sometimes it hurts. No, you know that I'm very close to my wife, and sometimes when she corrects me, I have the idea that she is really attacking, when she probably isn't. After I've thought about it, but that's her way of emphasizing that I'm going astray. I've learned now that's a hard one because I've had to learn that, and I would say I pass that on because I say that each and every day we allow ourselves to stay within these squares that I'm talking about and learn how we vary from some things that we say that we are, then we're going to be better off all the way around. It's not a you and an I kind of proposition. We are working sometimes without knowing it. We're working together, even when we're shooting at each other.
Mm.
But what I'm calling for is we know that that's going to happen. So why not get in? And nothing magic about these squares except I just want to visualize them. But why don't we get inside of those squares and begin to do self-examination prior to anything happening, so we be equipped when it occurs?
So now, give me in like the optimal way that you would want groups to get together and look at the 63 squares, because we already know a lot of people gonna be like, man, I ain't got time to be studying these squares. You know what I'm saying? If we could have an optimal environment, how will we disperse the study of the squares?
Well, I think you got to start with whoever's willing to start. You can't, and I think if you do a good job, you're going to draw people.
So, man, so you just like with a group, you.
And you know, I'd say open up with your family if you can. Sometimes you can't, and or they'll be lukewarm about it. But if we don't start, we won't know.
So in a sense, this
now, like for example, now you know you have to give yourself credit. Now I went out there and I saw that little garden that I don't call it a little garden. That garden that you have out by the school. That was nice. That was beautiful. You had to start with what you had.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, what if you applied that to everything that you do?
Ouch. You got a point. You got a point, because that garden is a whole story within itself. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, it's almost like the universe provided. You know, situations presented themselves and opportunities just kept opening up because we was willing to do the work. We had other people that was willing to do the work. So we would like literally sit around the table and discuss the square. So this might be a 63-week process.
And if it might be a recurring. Remember that we're growing. Time, space, and situation means that things, the sun, moon, and stars, and wind, and so forth, are at different positions at different times, different time periods, and so the response may be different, but the principles won't change.
So, because I do a show, it's called Tribal Quotes, where I take people through like 3 proverbs per show, and it's one proverb book that I've been using for years, and Terhasa put together a book, a workbook that goes along with it, but it's a lot of proverbs, and I'm thinking that the
ancestors speak. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, you talking about the name of the book? Oh yeah.
No, I was just talking about the proverbs.
Oh man, we call it in Gye-Nyame, we call it crystallized wisdom. You know what I'm saying? Our ancestors already solved all the problems that we need to face. All we gotta do is do some wisdom mining and find that crystallized wisdom, because it's there. All we gotta do is do the digging. So
don't think the Sankofa bird is looking back for nothing.
Hey. You know what I'm saying?
Because he's not looking back, he's got that eye on the future just as well as the back, and he's searching for what he can use best.
Man, so, but I'm sitting up here like, it's people scared out there, Doc. They might be scared. You might have intimidated everybody, man. Nobody, it's like the phone ain't rang. We at 614-556-4535. 4535 614-556-4535. If you have some questions or something that you want to talk to the elder about, hit us up on the line and let us know. I'm getting calls. I don't understand why I'm getting calls at this time. That goes back upstairs, baby. But so.
Well, it's not the adventure that you own is not a popular adventure. People like.
I know.
And so you'll get some response in due time.
Oh yeah.
And the more that you can manifest it, since you are taking the leadership for that, the more it's going to be manifest. But now remember that you are at the nation builder age.
Yes, sir.
And you should begin to be conscious of building institutions around those things that you stand for.
Say that. Can you say that again for all the nation builders out there? Say that again.
Well, I mean, every age group has its purpose. When you ask me about the young people who are in the street, I'd venture to say that 80 to 90% of the people who were demonstrating were under 35, I expect, and 35 and under. Now, which was essentially the warrior age,
right?
And they have responsibility to raise issues and to bring to charge in the way that they're doing. They're doing for what they believe in. Nation builders have the responsibility for taking that information that we espouse, like the principles and build institutions around them so they be protected, and not wait for somebody else to do it for them. And that's difficult because we've been so accustomed to being the slave master making us be dependent on them. Until we have not declared ourselves to want to be independent right yet. But I believe I'm confident that we are going to do that, and I think that if somebody asks me, well, what's the greatest thing about what's happening right now? That might be one of the greatest things that might be happening right now, is that we are beginning to assume more responsibility. The only thing that I would just caution us about is beware of provocateurs who join you out of the glamour of the moment.
Out of the glamour of the moment. And you kind of spoke on them at the very beginning. Now, but I got to say this. Sharika Brantley said, "Hello, Doc," from Florida. What? Is she still? You still in Florida, Sharika? But she said, "What's up?" What else? Because you hit on something there. The provocateurs and the outside people coming in to cause problems. Now, from your experience, can you give some of the young, because it might be some young people watching right now, because I'm getting signs of some watch parties might be going on. What are some of the things that from your long history that would identify a provocateur? What are some of the things that they would bring to this moment that's going on with these young people?
Well, in Columbus, Ohio, back in 70 or something like that. Might have been late 60s or 70s. There was an organization called Know Each Other, KEO. Look that I don't know whether it's in Google or not, but maybe. In which we were running around with white folks, and they were, I mean, all Jews and others, and we said we'd know each other, and if any problems come, everybody will be together to help solve the problems, and having dinners and sessions and so forth. Well, things did get tight, as you know, like a little later.
Right.
Where were they?
Where were they? What happened? They didn't show up?
Did you see him?
Yeah.
You were around when some of those things got tight.
Well, in the 70s, Doc, I mean, I was a baby in Akron, Ohio. I was just.
Well, anyway, the 70s, and well, you saw the result of it in the 80s.
Yes, sir. I sure did. I sure did.
And so, I'm just saying to you that what we're seeing is just warmed over sour milk in some ways.
So we basically we're seeing a repeat. So this is not new.
Yeah. And I'm saying I'm not saying don't trust anybody, but I said beware. I mean, you see, a plan of action doesn't put anybody down. What it does is say, if this occurs, here are the steps that I believe I will take, that I want to take, and it doesn't. It moves on, and I keep calling for a plan of action. Don't just sit around and wait for things to happen to build a plan of action. We need plans of action. If there's anything that the Bible does, it says it tries to help people have a plan of action for their life. And I think we need to have that from an African cultural frame of reference, because so many of the biblical people have now have a plan of action just for the plan of action for building the particular institution they have to be involved in, rather than a plan of action for the people. And now, even saying that, I'm not trying to disrespect any of them.
But see, you preach to the choir, because I said this morning, I said even with our religious and our spiritual institutions, we look at things totally different than other people. Like, for example, I would say that in most of our churches and in most of how we deal with religion, in most cases, we're looking for moral correction. We're looking for higher morality, a true relation with this, and a true love. But other people are getting in religious organizations and using organizations and religious organizations and spiritual organizations seeking power. You understand what I'm saying? When they pray to God, they're praying to God about power. They're not praying to God about forgiving. They're praying for power. We're praying to soften our hearts so that we could forget what happened in the past. Never mind that they lynched my uncle. Never mind that, you know what I'm saying, I want everybody to feel comfortable. And I think in many ways we fall into the morality trap of seeking this higher moral ground in all cases, when in fact that was something that was put on us. Because how can I put it? In our traditional practices, what didn't work for us, we got rid of. Because if not, we wouldn't have survived as long as we did.
That's right. Yeah. Well, now we forget. You know, when Neely Fuller gave us those 9 areas of life, sometimes we get the religious part, the religion, but we forget the war part.
And if we look at, I mean, because like hell, I could name at least 3 holy texts that have wars as major story points. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, so I'm sitting up here like, yo, what is it about? What is it about how we look at the world that may be detrimental to us? Why do we choose to? I'm just so, I'm guilty of it. I'm so goddamn nice. I don't understand it. Is this part of the training? Is this how we were before? I mean, what's going on?
Once I was in Ghana and went to up in the north there, and we sat down. The chief decided he needed a circle to discuss a particular issue. They went on, and he had the circle of elders, and they went on for, I'd say, an hour or two. And then the elder sent the message to the chief about what they're, and now the chief's sitting right in the middle of them, by the way. But the elder officials delivered to him whatever it was that they had decided to guide him. And it was at that point that he made an announcement about how the village was going to act on this particular issue. Now, that kind of planning we almost forgot about. And so when we talk about an aerial war, it's almost foreign to us, except when I went into World War II, and now I'm on, as this symbolic honor of being a veteran. But it doesn't have anything to do with the war that we as Africans need, so that we can protect and stand up for our families and our communities. And whatever that war calls for, if it calls for negotiation, we negotiate, but we negotiate from our frame of reference as opposed to asking for something. And if it requires for a more stringent, more active response, then we give that too. And we shouldn't be afraid of doing that. And we can't use our religion backs that up. That's what our spiritual systems back that up, and it should back it up. And those are things that I think are very important for us to have cultural education about in those squares, and so that we're not honoring the oppressor per se, but not ignoring him either.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to just say, Brother Kwame say, higher moral ground with no foundation to stand on. And
that's right. That's lack of a plan. That's lack of planning. See, how do I pray for the whatever the universal creator that I recognize to do these things for me? I sit back and wait. Now, maybe our squares say, give me the wisdom to know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it.
So any belief that we have that undergirds what we do, and maybe we might need to talk about that. Like, for example, if you had a perfect warrior, a perfect nation builder, the ideal, let's don't say perfect, let's say the ideal, what would be their mind frame?
Their mind frame would be that I want peace, I want happiness, I want my family to have happiness, and I'm willing to stand on that. That means I would be peaceful when there's no danger, but I'll be on guard when there is danger. That would be it. And I think that that's what those are the types of things detailed things that I think we ought to be teaching from a cultural frame of reference. See, notice that in that there's no dislike for anybody.
Right.
There's a caring to make sure that I'm safe and sound, and my family is safe and sound, and that we're making progress and we're benefiting from the resources in the human race, as opposed to providing resources for somebody else to benefit from.
I mean, because we so good at providing resources for other people, man. It's oh my God. But we got Brother Kwame on the line, the Black Yoda. What's up, Black Yoda?
I was just calling in to make sure the Black line was working, because, I thought I heard it click a couple times. I thought we had a few people on the line. And forgive me, Baba, but greetings to you, and please pass along our love to Mama Nyambe.
There you go. Thank you.
But yeah, boy, a lot of the stuff we're talking about, you know, sometimes, Bob, it becomes difficult for me. You know, I hear the 7 principles attributed to my, but I guess because of the way I kind of look at math, it's really difficult for me to grasp one of those principles without grasping onto all of them.
Well, they are related. That's the point I'm making.
Right.
You know, one of these days when we're together, I mean, I want to just have you look at these squares. I mean, nothing magic about it. I'm not presenting those as any highfalutin stuff, but it's just common sense that if you have 7 squares one way and nine principles another way, they interact with each other in a graph. And we don't train ourselves in that way. It's almost like if I got some of our famous people now have achieved in Atlanta especially. Man, Atlanta's probably got a mass of fiscal capital in Atlanta for black people far greater than it is any place in the world. But you can't prove it by the planning for African people to survive here in this city, or in Columbus too, for that matter. But I'm just using this because there's such a concentration of fiscal wealth. There's a concentration of human wealth too, but we don't recognize it as such. So yeah.
So when you talk about the human wealth, explain that, because because a lot of people kind of struggle with that one. Because you talk about the human capital and the human wealth. Can you go a little bit?
That book that when I talk about Genius United,
right?
That's human. I'm talking about human wealth. I'm talking about human wealth and how everybody has it, and we just don't put it together. Brother Nathan Bill Kwame, he talks about this mathematically all the time, and I think that because he talks about it, his symbols are mathematical, people miss the point. And I think that we need some sessions, y'all, where we just sit down almost like kindergarten and say to ourselves, but I don't know if the problem is, you asking me how do you do that? I don't know that we have not built our egos up so high until we're not willing to just sit down and be at the primer level on what those squares require, so we can do the self-examination. And I want to emphasize, I'm talking about not individual self-examination, where we do that for individually, but we also do that collectively, so that we come out of those squares with one mindset.
With a unified understanding of what each one means and how to actualize them in our lives. So
right.
So along with a study like this, we would, in a sense, develop what they would call. So you would go in studying these, and you would have you would have people to help keep you accountable. You have like accountability groups.
To each other. I mean, accountability wouldn't be somebody outside of the square; it'd be whoever's in the square.
Right.
Yeah. And you create truth and honesty and all those things, but because it's almost like the standard we're setting, we are abiding by. And the reason that I'm so convinced that's going to be helpful to us if we ever submit to it, is that we like to recite them. We get such joy out of being able to recite each of those principles and so forth. But when the time comes for us to say, well, now I've applied this to A, B, C, D, E, F, then that's a different story.
Now, the major argument, because you, I mean, what you talking about now? You used to talk about at APDS.
Right.
Now, but
they haven't changed.
Now, I'm just gonna say this, because this was one of the points that came up in argument. But the principals won't feed my kids.
Yes, they will. We just don't. We have made them. We have taken a stand on them. Listen, now you know that the Adam Board and they did everything possible to make sure we didn't have APDS. Now, I probably shouldn't be saying this. Even to the point of sometimes making the payments that were due be 2 to 3 months late.
Yeah, oh shit, I remember.
So, but I just took a stand. That's all. I mean, and now I'm not bragging about nothing, because I wasn't. Certainly, I was not ideal. I'm not an ideal person or nothing like that. But sometimes you just have to take a stand on things and tell them to go jump. Now, because you're gonna protect your people at that point. And listen, we found ways of making that go on anyway.
Now, and I was gonna bring that up, because really, what the experience we had going through some of those droughts kind of helped form some of the relationships that we are building on right now. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because like I said, when you come to the school, you see the result of that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like partnerships that have lasted a lifetime, because we was literally hungry, trying to figure out how we was going to handle life, but at the same time having responsibilities and having certain principles that we had to live by. And I have to attest, by, in a sense, hindsight, you are right. If you practice your principles and you stand on your principles, not only will they protect you, but they will feed you. Now, we don't have the exact scientific reason why, or maybe Kwame could give us an equation of why it happens, but it happens.
But now, see, that's an example of what I'm talking about. Kwame he's a genius in that area. A white boy said, "You created a word, geniusness." He said, "I don't find that nowhere in the dictionary." I said, "So what? It's just as valuable as any word you find in there." Geniuses exist in Kwame, and we ought to use that. That ought to be a element that we use to put in where you or I have a vacancy to make. Then we can stand together, because my strength will be manifest, and so will his.
Right.
That which makes us strong. Those are the types of things that I think are so important. They sound simple. They're not simple because we've been trained so much otherwise.
Right.
And that's the simple part, is overcoming the miseducation that we've had, and almost to the point of not believing that we can survive if we don't act in the miseducated way.
Man, I mean, you.
Permission to speak.
I didn't hear you.
Permission to speak?
Yeah, well.
So, Tim was talking about a quote-unquote mathematical equation to describe certain situations. And let me borrow from Marimba Ani and what Brother Benachi in our meta-nature study class tells us all the time. Context is everything.
Mm-hmm.
Context is everything. And so, having said that, if I were given a particular circumstance, situation, condition, and I'm asked to explain that mathematically, first I start by saying this is my, and this is how my works. So those people who think mod is a one-to-one correlation kind of thing, I say, okay, I go to chemistry and I say, what is H2O? And they say, okay, they recognize that as water. Then I say, what is H2O2? And they recognize that as hydrogen peroxide. I said, are not both of those in order? Are not both of those in balance?
Mm-hmm.
And so I present these different ideas that we come across, but because we have these, in many respects, we've been pre-programmed with these notions of what Ma'at looks like. And so when we see it, we don't recognize it.
Mm.
And then because we're not doing our part, let's say, to reciprocate, however we choose to do so, you know, like you were speaking of earlier, Baba, where, how can I phrase this diplomatically? There are times when it behooves us to call for the diplomat in our group.
That's right.
To speak with those with whom we may have a difference. And it is the responsibility of that diplomat to come back to the group and tell them from our perspective, Ma'at and Gusa Saba, what the diplomat has heard from the people that they're corresponding with. And so, in other times, as you said, we may have to take stronger measures. But this is, I'll never forget, I'm going off a little bit on a tangent, but we were talking about Ma'at one time, Bob, and you may have remembered that one of the symbols I think of in respect to Ma'at is the pendulum on the one hand, but back in the day they referred to it as a plumb bob.
Mm-hmm.
And the plumb bob is forever trying to find that balance. And how can it do so when the earth rotates 24,000 miles an hour, when the earth is revolving around the sun, you know, when the sun is revolving around the Milky Way, when the Milky Way is revolving around its supercluster? You got all these different things going on. And so we learned that balance is not just a steady state. We're always trying to find balance. And without preaching, I'll ease up there. But thank you for the time.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think you're right. We're always trying to find it, but there's a procedure for even looking for it, which brings satisfaction.
Stop. What is the procedure?
And that's what, see, and when sometimes in those the things that like Kwame is talking about, sometimes I remember our ancestors used to stare into space and pass it on to one generation to another before they would come up with answers to questions. And
man, Doc, don't do it to me, man. Don't do it to me.
Well,
you about to pass it on to me, man?
Yes, sir. You got to. I mean, yeah, and you build
yes, sir.
Together.
Yes, sir.
But it's not, and because that's the nature of things. I mean, the Earth is not always, as Kwame is pointing, it's not always in the same position. It's
never
position.
Right.
And so you use those principles according to the position you're in order to make things better. But you never give up yourself to try to be the moon when you are the sun.
Which is what we've been doing. Now also, and one of the things we do on Gye-Nyame is that every morning on a daily toast, like in the toast, when I toast a moment, I ask people to open up their reticular formations and go out and seek the principle of the day. We done went as far here in Columbus to where we done recolonized the days. We done took the days back. So like today for us is not the day, is not Wooten's Day. Today is Ujima for us. You know what I'm saying? And along with Ujima, the modic principle of the day is, if I'm correct, righteousness. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we're trying to incorporate these principles and give people tools so that they can remind themselves. So rather, like I said, I owe a certain amount of push-ups now because I done said those days today. So I'm going to go knock those out before I get too weak from my fast. But the point I'm trying to make is that in order to find the principles, you got to know how to look for them. And the only way to know how to look for them is to practice trying to find them. And the challenge we give to people every day is please try to find your principle. Find the principle. When you find it, take a picture of it, post it up on Gye-Nyame Journey, post it up on your timeline so our people, let me see that. So our people can see examples of unity. Because my idea of unity might be different than your idea of unity, but if you was to post a picture of unity and then it say hashtag unity and you put a little thing up under there and you explain why it's unity, you might give me some insight to help me come closer to being able to find that principle that is so necessary in my life.
And it would be a point of contact that would strengthen both.
Say again, Elder.
I say it would be point where the understanding would come together to increase the power of the two parties or the collective parties that were involved. Sometimes we forget that the absoluteness of making that contact strengthens both parties.
I was about to call you Pops, but I guess you are Pops, but you the Baba. Listen. So when we gonna start on this 63-step process? You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, we got the means where this can be. You could actually do a discussion on each one of them.
Well, we can start on it now, but just remember that I don't have the answers. What I'm saying is that we need to start on developing those where they interact with each other and what it means as they interact and what constitutes strength. See, because we're talking about now, the power of what Kwame is talking about is that those things stay in their orbit because they have power. The power of reflections off of each other keep them in their orbit. Otherwise, they run into each other.
Like we do.
Yeah. And so I'm saying that's a part of the study. It takes patience. You told me one day, and I really appreciated that. You said, I said you looked like things were unsettled around there. You said, "Well, Doc, have patience. You'll be surprised at what we're gonna do. We got something lying ahead." And I heard that. And the next thing I knew, you were doing that little activity you had in the park, in the I guess it was the outing and hike and stuff.
Yeah, and we're gonna do something else soon too, because and
I think that those are the types of things that are so important to highlight, because they are highlights of making contacts and creating harmony. sometimes where there is where harmony is disrupted.
Mm.
And so we should celebrate those acts, those collective actions. They're probably more important than Juneteenth, which is a phony celebration for what is reported to be celebrated. It's only justifiable. The only justification I can find for it is that we came to realize that we could walk away from the farm
and have no place to go, huh?
Yeah. but
now, Doc, I want to stress this. When I ask you to do certain things, I'm not asking you for the answers. I'm asking you to start the questions that we will be able to link into and work on. See, because the 63 squares is a lifetime thing. Right. See, because what I want to do is get individuals started on that because one day when I'm 95, I want to be having an interview with somebody who says they got their degree in the 63 squares. You know what I'm saying? Or I specialized in truth and economics. I specialize in reciprocity and war. You know what I'm saying? That's the one I excelled at. So I'm not looking for answers because because one of the things that come from our tradition is constantly asking questions. You know what I'm saying? Constantly asking questions. That's how we become sharper. That's how we become better. That's how you able to stay this how you are able to be 95 and be on here discussing this with us because you're asking questions. You still ask questions. What? I'm sorry. What I do?
Oh man, you gave us an idea, brother. So, this is what we can start with some of our youth, nation builders, and even elders to get their perspective during Sabiet on these particular issues.
You talking about the 63?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a start. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't have to be necessarily just for Sabiets. I mean, man, we got.
Let's just suppose that you had a started with your youth, and it seems like you'll have more youth than we ever had in Tawi before you got involved. If you do, what if you had youth taken some of these squares and say they started with something that caught their attention, like you were saying, truth and war. What is that?
Mm.
Right.
What is that? Mm. And notice that when you do that war also interacts with sex.
Mm.
The truth.
Yeah. So I mean, so what it's showing is that you don't make plans and you don't grow just from taking one thing out in and of itself. That it is the interaction of the balance and the harmony of those things that bring peace to your family, to yourself, and to the group that you are a part of. It seems to me like those are the types of things that might be useful. And Hatem, as you talk about, really, I'm not sure that. I think if we're going to do something like that with the so-called PhDs, then we need to define what we're looking for.
And see, and that's where I'm at, because this is the I'm a Coochie baby. I'm a Coochie Chagalia baby. Always redefine. That's what I do. You know what I'm saying? So and I don't mind stealing a person's idea, because even with the 63 squares, right? What if people were turning in dissertations? I mean, we had some form of dissertation or some form of recognition of individuals mastering certain squares, or mastering a whole group of squares. You know what I'm saying? Because the whole piece is, if we want it to be real, we got to treat it like it's real. Like,
that's right.
People.
Brother,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Now, this is my understanding. Genius is the ability to master what you master and to be able to apply it to any and everything.
Very true.
Okay.
And with that, when one masters, in many respects, if they master one square,
they're going to master them all.
yes, that will be the beginning to mastering them all.
Right. Yeah. I said, yeah, and that's something I'd say you two, along with whomever you select. I want to say this right now. Tony's son, I wish that we could get him.
Hey, we got him. He just called me. He probably listening now. I keep on shout the number out. I'm shouting the number out, Allende. Goddamn, excuse my language, Baba. Cover your ears. Goddamn, Allende. I'm sending out the number 614-556-4535.
But I think that I have great confidence that he can be whatever he wants to be, and I know how happy that would make his father.
You know he came. You know he crossed into Tawi with us.
Yeah, I know.
And so we got it working, Baba. Listen, once again, the patient man eats ripe fruit.
All right. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, like you say
communicate to that young brother that I really want to see him just grow, and I want to see all of you grow together, grow strong.
You know, I mean, me and him cuss each other out on a regular basis. That's my brother. Listen, and the piece that I want you, how can I put it? I just want you to know that, you know, a lot of the stuff that you was dropping on us was not wasted. I love for all my elders to know that. You understand what that? It was not wasted, especially, because the most powerful things that you said to me were those things like the patient man eats white fruit. Because in my 20s, I was like, what in the hell is this man talking about? Why? We keep saying this shit. Why is he? You know what I'm saying? Then in my 30s, I'll be like, oh, kind of making sense. In my 40s, it was like, oh, man. And now in my 50s, it's like, oh, my goodness. Brilliant. You know what I'm saying? And the piece is, how would I have been if I was taught to listen for that type of stuff, rather than running into it full speed, not paying attention, but learning to sit down and listen to the stuff, being around people that's having discussions like that. Because my grandparents, they would drop certain things on me, you know what I'm saying, and I wouldn't be able to catch it because the circles that used to be there weren't there no more. By the time I came to age, the car parties and where people was coming together, all that stuff started breaking up. Soon as everybody found out that they could go, supposedly we got some type of freedom. So now
another one of those deceptive, really tricky moments where we were tricked.
Oh man. But we got a caller from 216. Who this?
This Shaka.
Oh, okay, cool. What's up, Shaka? Welcome. This is another Nation Builder, Baba.
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Bless. How are you?
Great.
You got something you want to ask or a comment?
Man, you know, I'm almost ashamed that I just caught the very last. I'm gonna have to
re-listen to it.
And
right.
Then,
it'll be online for $9.95. I gotta pay the elder. We got bills to pay.
You
I
don't have
just,
to pay me so
I'm
much,
just,
but
I'm just joking, Doc, Baba. It'll be up, but that 63 square thing, doggy. Listen.
well, I hope that you'll take and make whatever you can out of it.
What do you mean, y'all? Hold on. You
Oh,
95. You 95 years young. You already told us you ain't got the energy to be doing some of the stuff, but talking. Man, listen, you had me on the phone longer than any other interview I done had. Listen, do you know we've been on this for 2 hours and 5 minutes?
Yeah, I'm gonna get off too. but no, I'm delighted to be able to talk with you, and I just hope that you. I do want to say one thing. You asked about a question you asked me earlier about maintaining the institutions. One of the things that I would say to you, now, APDS. I want to go to APDS now. And you said you remembered when the Adam Board would hold back their money to try to make us. I guess they thought I was going to quit. But one thing I tried to do, and that I would advise to any black person, never let the European be in control. I tried to keep a 40. I never let them get above 40% that they were funding in that agency. 40 to 45%. I always kept a bigger percentage coming from other sources and myself. And I would say that we have to take charge in that way, or otherwise they will always be pulling the strings. So if they pull the whole 45%, certainly I'm going to stumble, but I ain't going to fall.
Right. So another question for you, Baba. What do you think about, because, I've been shooting this idea out. I said every community should have a full-time nation builder and maybe 2 full-time warriors, maybe even a full-time elder that is funded in a sense by the community. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I gotta chime in on that, because, man, we almost thinking alike, Hot Tim. Listen. Somebody asked me how I felt about the defunding of cops. I said, listen, if a movement is moving from something of detriment and moving into something that's healthier practice, right? So if you're going to defund the cops, then you need to commission the Babas, and every community needs to have a Baba or a Baba figure that is the protector. That when that community is under attack, then he the one that come out. You know what I mean? And so I feel like that's definitely the movement of tomorrow.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Now, that's the kind of thinking for planning that I was talking about. That has to take place when, not because of the excitement, but knowing that excitement is going to arise at different points. There has to be an element of that planning that where you know exactly what you're going to do when certain things happen. But it is not designed just for that. It's designed for the purpose of maintaining good health on a day-to-day basis. But when something threatens it, you also have something to take care of that.
All right.
One of the major things that I listened to when I watched Dave Chappelle on YouTube with his 846 is, and it's something that I had written into my mission statement earlier in this crisis, is that we, in these times of uncertainty, are listening to the voices that we trust. And so that's what I love about Dave's work and his role right now, is that he understands the responsibility and the obligation that he holds. Having the only person in history besides Richard Pryor getting that Mark Twain Award, that was a huge step, and we definitely need all of that energy now. But when you're not necessarily a part of that major conversation, you need somebody in your hood, in your environment, who will, what will Baba do? Who Baba listening to? What we gonna do? You know what I mean? So.
So now before it was something that he brought up. Oh, before we let you get off the phone, Bob, I got one more question for you. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's talk about what do you think about this whole concept of right now the movement for them to defund the police? Now, what you think about it and the opportunity that's in that? But go ahead, or if there's none.
Well, I don't know, because I don't defunding the police. You know, the slippery eel always has ways of deceiving you about what's happening.
Uh-oh.
And so let's assume that they defund and increase, and but yet create another buffer force of some sort. And some of our because we don't have a plan, we don't have we sort of succumb to it, say, oh, well, that was a step in the right direction. Well, most of what we have called the steps in the right direction have been the deceptive steps that have kept us in the same position that we were in before we even started. And I think that it's time that we began to prepare ourselves before the excitement arises. I can't emphasize that enough. You can't do battle on a battlefield if you're not ready for it.
You know, this is the way that I'm always thinking. And, you know, when we go back to, you know, even a few years ago in Cleveland, had I been able to hold on to this property, this church, it would be not just a haven, but, you know, a transgenerational artist community where as a vanguard, we're the ones that would be producing the media around the clock right now. We would be the one producing the art that moves the masses, and that's really where my head has been. And even right now, I feel blessed that even though I had the downside, I have this space. But, you know, when you look at crisis, the piece is that, you know, this is the time where people are dealing with disparities at the highest level. And so if I had artists around the globe and in different cities that were ready to make movements, and, you know, I would want to invite them into a space to work collectively right now and build until we can't build no more.
Mm-hmm. Where are you in Cleveland? I used to live at 83rd and Cedar.
All right, yeah. I'm right now I'm on Larchmere.
Okay. Yeah, I lived on when I left Cleveland, I was living out on Stockbridge, but I started out on 83rd off Cedar.
Yeah, I know the area very well. In fact, right now on 83rd and Carnegie is a wonderful resource in the community called the PNC Fairfax Connection Center, and elders are getting tutored, you know, with their devices and getting more acclimated into the world of technology. It's an amazing space.
Oh, good. Yeah, of course, you know that wasn't there when I was there back in the 50s.
Yeah, and around the corner from you, I just performed as the villain in Aida at the Caramoo. And Caramoo this time last year got $2 million from the Cleveland Foundation. So the neighborhood is definitely coming up.
Oh, good.
Mama Margarita says, Asante Sana Baba. Shouts out to Mama Margarita. Also, shouts out to everybody that's been listening in. I'm going to let Doc, you got some closing words for the village?
Well, I just say keep up the good work. Don't assume that you have answers, but keep working on a plan of action. Don't just study too alone.
You say you said don't just study
alone.
Okay.
Study ought to be tied to action that you're planning for, and that you have some unified force, meaning people of the community without having education stratification, financial stratifications, or any other kind of caste or class system. It ought to be people who are from a community that you have confidence will work together to take the action that you need to take. Now, and finally, I would just say those 63 squares that I was talking about are just a theoretical way of thinking about principles and areas of life that I think we need to make sure those principles interact with those various areas of life if we are serious about planning for future growth and development.
Baba, listen, I'm be in contact with you about them 63 squares. Get ready, man. So family, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank the Baba for giving us his time, because I think we have another meeting with you on the 30th coming up. So I don't know if you know about it, but
well, I saw a flyer, and I got to find out what that's about.
Welcome to my life, man. I be seeing my names on flyer. I be like, oh, I didn't know about this. But anyway, we building, and I want to thank you for what you have poured into us, not only tonight, but in the past. Know that you always welcome here on Gye-Nyame Journey. And also, family, let me go. I want to make sure I get this title up, because Doc, we will be releasing another book. I just want to go and finish up some talks with Doc, but we got another book coming out. And then also, is it true that you might be dropping so you want
liberation.
So you want liberation with Gye-Nyame Journey through the digital stuff?
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that part, but I'm also going to have revised a second printing of the book itself. And I was saying to you that the well, I don't know what you want to do in terms of your activity, but Madhu in Atlanta will have it, and also shucks.
Zawadi here.
Zawadi
right.
Books there, yeah.
Brother. Now we're strictly on. We're not going to step on the brother's toes that have the hardbacks. We're going to be the digital distribution piece. You know what I'm saying? And so Baba will be dropping The Genius of Africans United, a call to action. And we will be offering that. I just want to get the date solidified so that I can release it. And family, we're gonna see an artistic side of Doc as well as the nation building. So he mixed the nation building elder piece with the whole artistic piece. So family, we're gonna unleash that, and we're gonna be using the Gye-Nyame method. And those of you that are, in a sense, supporters of Gye-Nyame Journey, I'm going to do a video on the Gye-Nyamics for you, so that if you want to participate, you can participate in it as well. But without any further ado, I want to do this. I need to remind you that, hold on, where we at? I ain't supposed to say on my show, but oh well. Where is it at? Up close. There we go. I need to remind you that you are now standing in the congregation of the mighty, the home of the stubborn minority, the place where your hustle builds muscle. This is Gye-Nyame Journey Media. Hotel. I am your host, Brother Hatim. We have been joined by the great Baba, Mariba Kelsey, and of course, you know this is the heart of a simple production. We strive to blow up your old paradigms. All right, thanks, Baba, and I'll be talking to you soon.
All right.
Peace out,
Appreciate it,
fam.
Baba.
Take care.
Shouts out to Sister Sharika.
I heard Bob Johnson said he's talking to the higher powers, I guess the government, about our reparations. And I guess the numbers that they come up with were about 3. Name is Saul, here in Ngozi, Northern Light Shopping Center. You want more than just a nice cut? Good conversation, good vibe, good music. Come see me at 3512 Cleveland Avenue.
Women, but the most important goddesses were black, not just for the African now, in the civilization of the Greek. The Greek was so profoundly affected by the Africans that the goddess of chastity was a black woman, Artemis. The goddess of wisdom was a black woman, Minerva. The goddess of beauty was a black woman, Diana. And many of their great mythological figures which were critical to the vision of history, the history of the Greeks in the Odyssey. The woman who draws, who has the power to draw Odysseus and all his crew into her, is Circe, who is
the warrior learns the way of values.
With African features on the Greek vases. The woman who helps Jason win the golden fleece is a black woman, Medea. The woman who marries
through cultural values.
Hero is
After over 75 years of organizing experience and 95 years of life, the elder of the Tawi family village, Elder Mariba Kelsey, has put together a special report. 11 steps, considerations for empowering African-centered organizations. 11 key steps to building up liberation-based organizations. Available on MaribaKelsey.com. That's MaribaKelsey.com. That's MoribaKelsey.com. Oh my God.